Hello everybody. We're doing something different today. It was cold on my deck standing out there under the overhang, so I thought I'd bring the camera out here, and I can't even see myself in this camera, so I hope you can see and it's not going to be a problem. I have some notes out here because I have some statistics I wanted to tell you. I can remember some but not all of them, so I just wanted to bring this out here so I didn't forget anything. And some people are going to get on my case about this. I know they are, but I want to talk about people who always say, I can't save money, I can't prep, I don't have enough extra money to do this or to do that. And you know, I say, well, you know, have you got some habits that you can give up? Have you got some is there anything that you do that you can cut back or you can give up? And you know, people say, oh, well, I've already cut back and blah, blah, blah. But they don't have the figures to show what they're really spending on their little habits. And I'm going to pick on smokers today. I know people get mad at me when I do that. But I'm going to do that because it's a quantifiable amount. And there are statistics about that, about the cost, and I've lost so many relatives. My husband and I have lost so many relatives who contracted COPD from cigarette smoking. My mother had emphysema COPD. My father was not a smoker. I remember him pulling out on rare occasion a cigar or something, but he was not really a smoker. My mother-in-law died younger than I am. She was a smoker who also had chronic kidney disease. My father-in-law lived longer, but when he died, he had lung cancer and leukemia. My brother-in-law, who is exactly the age, he's 3 months older than me, he's already had a heart attack, and he won't stop smoking. Every time I go, you know, we meet up, you know, he wants to give me a hug, and, you know, the smell is just, you know, the smell of cigarettes chokes me because you can't get it out of your clothes. But let's talk about the cost of this particular one thing, because it's quantifiable. It's easier to quantify than a lot of other things. And I got statistics on the cost of it in our current market. You know, and people get on me for this all the time. And I had one subscriber that just was always angry with me, and people say, you're being judgmental. No, I'm just telling you some facts. I'm not being judgmental. I'm not saying, oh, you're going to go to hell if you smoke. I don't believe that. This is works. This has nothing to do with, we're talking about health and we're talking about cost. We're talking about people who say they can't do this and they can't do that because they can't afford it, and yet they smoke and they probably buy Starbucks coffee every day. So let's just go with this right now. You know, I don't think cocaine addicts would be so, God, I got bees out here. Yellow jackets haven't died off yet. Would cocaine addicts be so defensive of their habit if it was legal? See, that's one thing. See, there's not any difference. There really is no difference. A bad habit that's bad for your health is a bad habit, whether it's legal or it's not legal. You may not want to film your illegal activities, your illegal drug use, but like Hunter Biden does all the time. But you have legal habits, apparently. But legal doesn't mean they're good for you, and they're not good for your wallet. Okay, so you know, if you are having trouble making ends meet, you haven't done any prepping or not enough prepping, and yet you're saying you just don't have any extra money, and you're a smoker, as a large number of our country is, less than it used to be once they realized the connection between cancer and lung disease and smoking. There's still people who won't give it up, like my brother-in-law, which I don't want to lose. But here's what I found. And I had not looked these statistics up because when I was born in 1956, at the end of 56, a pack of cigarettes cost about 24 cents. And I have no reason to keep track of how much they cost because I never bought any. even though my husband said when he was little and could ride a bicycle, his parents would send him to the store for a carton of cigarettes. Back then they could do that. The kids could buy them for their parents, no problem. Not so anymore, thank goodness. But on the average today, a pack of cigarettes in the United States, this is an average, costs $8 a pack. A pack. Not 24 cents, but $8 per pack. I had no idea it was that high. And it varies per state, and I will put a graph of the United States and what it costs in all these states up here, if I can remember to do that. If it's not there, you'll know I didn't remember. But the most expensive state in which to buy a pack is New York. Shocker there. They are $11.96 on average. One pack. Not a carton, but a pack. The cheapest place in the United States is Missouri, $6.11. Missouri has the lowest tobacco tax, which is about 17 cents per pack. Both New York and Connecticut have a tobacco tax of $4.35 a pack. That's the tax on top of the cost of the pack. So the average pack of cigarettes costs you now about $8 per pack. Now, which is interesting, this says this leads to a substantial $2,190 a year for the typical smoker. Now, that's not a pack-a-day smoker. You are aware some people smoke a pack a day. Some people smoke 2 packs a day. God help them, I don't know how they're still standing. But they do. And I added that up. $8 a pack, 1 pack a day, 30 days is $240 a month, times 12 is $2,880 a year if you're a pack-a-day smoker and you pay about $8 a pack. That's a lot of greenbacks, people. So think about that number. Now, like I said, I'm using this as an example because it was easily quantifiable and it was easy to find the statistics on it, okay? Now, I'm not trying to pick on you smokers. I know you think I'm picking on you. I'm not picking on you. But I do wish you would all quit because I watched too many people die that I love because of it. But for the purposes of today, I'm using it as an example. So between $2,100, $2,800 a year or more, if you smoke more than a pack a day, this is how much you're wasting to kill your health. Think about how much food you could buy for $2,800 a year or over $2,000 a year. How much more food could you buy? Are you having trouble paying your bills and yet you're buying this stuff? Killing your health and not able to pay your bills at the same time? If you want to think about this, if you use their average at $2,100 a year, our small solar array, the inverter, the charger, the cables, all 4 solar panels, cost about half of that. I have a whole solar array for half of that cost. All the components. The possibilities, what you can buy with that money, are endless. Okay, you understand that, right? If you weren't spending that much on an addiction, and it's an addiction, you know it is. Now, there are other addictions. You can be addicted to Cokes. You know, down the South, all carbonated beverages are Coke. They're not soda, they're not pop, they're Coke. I don't care what the brand is, they're Coke. You could be addicted to that. You can be addicted to candy. You can be addicted to sugar. You can be addicted to a lot of things. You can be addicted to your roasted wood chips Starbucks coffee. I know I had 1 cup of Starbucks coffee, probably in the 90s, and it was so disgusting. And of course, now that I know the leanings of the entire company, I wouldn't touch that. And if you look up the meaning of their logo, which is cut off at the bottom, you know it's cut off at the bottom. Yeah, I hope you would be disgusted. But you know, this is why I've mentioned this and a lot of other habits. This is a frugal, purposeful living channel. This is how to manage your money for a better life. I don't have any addictions. addiction you have is going to cost you money that could be better spent on necessities. There's no addiction that's a necessity. I mean, unless you're addicted to saving money, which I don't think you can call that an addiction exactly. Although I suppose you could make an addiction out of anything, but that would be a good one. Unless it's to the detriment of spending money on things that you really should be spending money on for your family. But you know, there's so many wasteful habits. And you know, people say they can't save money, or they can't put away food, or they can't buy good nutrient-dense food. They say, oh, I can't buy meat, it costs too much. Are you smoking? Are you drinking alcohol? Now, I don't mind. Somebody has a beer now and then. I have nothing against that. I don't care if you like wine. I can't stand the taste of either one. I keep a bottle of red wine, a bottle of white wine in my fridge to add to for cooking, for marinating steaks, that kind of thing. But I don't drink it because I can't stand the taste of it. I have nothing against that. That's fine. But if you're an alcoholic, you have a problem. And then you're spending much more than you should be spending. Now I know people say, well, if I've got the money to spend it, then why shouldn't I spend it? Well, have you got a year or 2 years worth of food put away? Do you have alternative energy sources already? Do you have medical supplies put away? Are all your bills paid? Is your mortgage paid off? If not, you don't have the money. Simple as that. Hard line? Not really, it's just reality. You know, just apply all these I can't excuses to whatever is holding you back, right? You know, it's hard sometimes to see it without plain numbers. But think of it. If you're a pack-a-day smoker, you're spending a couple $1,000s a year on something that literally does you no good and does you harm, grosses out other people like me, who I literally can't breathe with that smoke around me. And all it does is keep you from buying enough food, putting away supplies for hard times that are coming. What if we had an EMP or a CME, you know, coronal mass ejection, that ends up in the same way, no electricity, the whole grid goes down, and it's permanent in most of those cases? What happens then when, you know, you could have had a solar system put up? You could have had several years worth of food until you can figure out how else to get it, or how to set up a garden if you haven't already done that. There's all kinds of things that your habit is interfering with, that's not any good for your family. So I just want to use that for the cigarettes for that. You know, when my mother was smoking, and she smoked before she married my father. She didn't marry till late because her fiance was killed in World War II. Was killed in the war, and she didn't marry till she was 28 years old, and my father was about 3 years younger than she was when they got married. But still, she was born in 1918, and back then the dangers of tobacco being inhaled like that were not known. Now, tobacco has fine medicinal uses. You can take the leaves and wet them and make a poultice for wounds. It has fine medicinal uses, but taking it inward is not what it's intended for, in my opinion. That's just my take on it. But that was basically what I wanted to talk about as far as that goes. You know, the real cost of cigarettes is really your health, and anybody else who suffers with the secondhand smoke. But you know, if we're going into really dark times, you need to throw away your crutches and learn to walk, and walk toward better health. And better health is going to serve you better in coming dark times. So apply that to any habit you have that does not lead to good health, that is a crutch. You know, people they eat their feelings. They use food to escape their emotions. And And I understand that. I get that. I used to do that. My husband does that. He tries his best not to. But, you know, we're eating so much better than we used to. And if you don't do all the other stuff, you do have the money for that. And we have the money to put things away. We have the money for cash. We have the money for a solar array. We pretty much have the money for the roof if we drain our accounts. But I didn't want to do that, so I'm going to, you know, open an equity line on the house for just a temporary, just a little bit. The next thing I want to talk about was age and homesteading. Age and homesteading. All of you who have not gotten your homestead yet, who you're not there yet, you're waiting for prices to come down and things to crash or whatever, so you can buy your first homestead for being self-sufficient. There's some things you need to think about, and another thing that's not pleasant to think about is aging. Okay, some people age well, age gracefully. Some people age without a lot of health issues. Some people don't. Some people have things that were beyond their control. My husband's degenerative disc disease. He actually had several accidents in the military. Before he even got active duty, he was in the Air National Guard, and they were in a building, and he actually, a floor was rotten in the building he was in. He actually had one leg went through the floor and the other one stayed up, and that jarred his back. And then he was loading bombs during all the war campaigns, or doing munitions testing and the weights. And then he fell. He had a fall on base, and there was all kinds of stuff. So he has issues stemming from all of that, and his disease is degenerative, and it's not anything that was really under his control. But there are, most of our health issues are under our control to a degree, and yet you can't beat aging. You don't get out of this life alive. And you don't get out of this life at 95 years old with a 35-year-old body and abilities normally. Yeah, we try, but reality of it is you ain't gonna be as spry in your 70s as you were in your 30s normally. Now, I actually in my mid-60s have more lean muscle mass, and I'm more capable than I was in my 30s, because I'm just generally overall healthier. Even though my thyroid had malfunctioned then, I didn't have what they say I have, osteoporosis. But I would think that if my bone strength was not good, not the bone density, but bone strength, that's two different things, that when the tree went rogue on us, and we cut down 1 million trees, I mean, my husband knows how to cut down a tree properly, and there could have been a knot inside it that caused it to twist the wrong way and flip. You can't anticipate that. But I would think that if I really had weak bones, that I wouldn't have got out of that with just a clean break in one leg and no other broken bones, not fractures, no other fractures, no nothing. But that's just another thing. That leads me into another thing. You can't anticipate what's going to happen to you. I didn't anticipate that in 2012 I was going to slip when it started to snow when we were out doing chores, and basically sit on my ankle and shatter it. I didn't know I was going to do that. That laid me up for a while. Got back out doing everything again. And then, then 10 years later, here I am again, broken, same leg, same two bones, just at the top, broken cleanly across. You don't anticipate things like that. Yes, you can be careful, but being careful doesn't guarantee you won't get hurt. It just can't, especially not on a property like we live on. The roots, it ain't called roots and rocks for nothing. There are trip hazards everywhere here. The ground is uneven. Sometimes there's a sinkhole that you step and your foot goes into the ground. soft spots. I mean, you just don't know what you're going to encounter. You just don't have any idea. So when you're choosing your homestead, think about in the future years when you might not be spry as you are now, and you think you are an athlete, but that doesn't guarantee that you will always be that healthy. That doesn't guarantee you'll always be that agile. It doesn't guarantee you won't develop some kind of a bone issue. It doesn't guarantee anything. Assume when you do your homestead, when you buy a homestead, assume that you are not going to be able to climb a flight of stairs to go to your bedroom at some future point. Please assume that. Please assume when you buy a property that it might not be easy for you to negotiate a mountain property if it's extremely steep. We are on a hill, and it goes from our house, it goes downhill all the way to the bottom of our 5.5 acres. But it doesn't go steeply. It's an easy walk. It's not unless you're going uphill, then it's a little bit of a hoof, but it's not dangerously steep. It's manageable for us. Our house, however, had 10 steps to go. It's a ranch. It's all the whole living area is on one area, but we have a partial basement, and yet the basement was built above ground. Therefore, we have 10 steps to get to the deck, to the main level. And yeah, I could go through the basement. However, when you go through that way, then you have to go up 13 steps to get up to the main level. So either way, unless you live in the basement, it doesn't matter. You just go up the 10 steps. And until we built our lift, and I know I'll link that we built our lift for carrying in groceries. When my husband didn't think he would be able to carry in groceries and take them up 10 steps and down, and because we'd buy a month at a time usually, he designed this lift and bought the motor and everything for it. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but I can tell you one thing. When I broke my leg and I was in a wheelchair, you ain't getting up 10 steps in a wheelchair very easily, especially with a husband who has a back problem who has to lift you up one step at a time. What we did was we wheeled it, and we built the platform large enough for a wheelchair. He puts me on the platform, make sure it's locked. I'm not going to move, lock my brakes on the wheelchair, turn it on, go up to the level, and I'm up to the deck. If we hadn't had that lift, it would have been, well, let's just say it would not have been as, well, it wasn't easy, but it would have been a lot worse having to go up and down the steps every time I had to go to the surgeon's office to get checked out and re-x-rayed. So thinking ahead, he made the lift for himself and for groceries to get him up to the deck. But you see what happened. The person who ended up having to need it was me. We didn't anticipate that. You can't anticipate half of what's going to happen to you in the future. So when you think about buying a homestead, make sure that the terrain is not insanely steep. You're not hanging off the side of a cliff. Make sure that your house, that you don't have to go up steps to get into it. And then when you get into your house, that you have at least one bedroom downstairs. You need to have at least one bedroom downstairs so that everything you need, the kitchen, the bathroom, the bedroom, is on one floor in case at some point you're unable to climb stairs. And that could happen. Don't think it won't. Assume that it will in finding your perfect place. And that said, there is no perfect place. This was not perfect. It needed work. There's 10 steps to go up there. And 20 years ago, those were easy to work with my husband. He still had the disc disease, but it wasn't as far advanced as it is now. So if we had thought it through, we would have skipped this house. However, there's a lot of blessings that came with this house. So adding a lift pretty much solved that problem. But you can't anticipate how you're going to age. Nobody can. You can try. You can say, well, I'm going to eat the best food, and I'm going to exercise, and I'm going to be careful. But you know what? We did that, and things happen. Things happen you can't anticipate. That is just all there is to it. So, I had Steve Smith, I'm going to talk to you for a second. I'd mentioned to you. You said you should write a book. You said you said you would buy it, and I said, well, I did start something years ago about moving to the country and the difference in a rural life and discovering what was here and discovering a different kind of life. And I started it a long time ago, and I started putting it on a blog, and then the blog didn't get a lot of attention, and I just closed the whole thing down because people didn't seem like they wanted to read it. And you said, doesn't matter. You said you need to write that book, and I'll help you. And I thought, how long ago did I start that? When I broke my ankle in 2012, I was writing that on a little Acer netbook that a friend that I lost track of her, she lost track of me, actually bought me and sent me when I broke my ankle and was stuck in bed. She sent me this Acer netbook because she knew I would be going crazy. And I started that book on that little Acer netbook in 2012. So I can't believe I still have it. I wrote a little bit on it today, and I made sure that what I've got is on a little thumb drive because I didn't want to lose it just in case. But in any case, I'm working on that. I don't know what'll ever come of it, but it's therapeutic. Anyway, so I appreciate the encouragement. And we should all encourage each other, everybody. We should all be encouraging of each other because, not every day is positive. Some days I come out here and I am not very positive. I don't want to only be here when I am positive and everything's sunshine and roses because that's just not life. And there's going to be times when you literally just feel like crap, and it's not that you want to come on here and dump on everybody, but you need to be real because homesteading life is not always an easy life, especially when you get older. And if you think that aging is not going to affect you, what planet are you living on? I can say I'm in much better shape than any of my parents. Maybe not my father. My father was 95 when he died. But he had a cardiologist, and I don't know what all he had. But he was still going, and he was still taking care of himself. And but generally, but he was raised on a farm. He had all that youth of really good organic food, just like I had when I was a kid, and I was eating food from that same farm. But you just don't know what's going to happen. And even though I'm in better shape than all of my in-laws combined, basically, I don't know. I could be walking back up to the house today and I could trip over one of these ridiculous roots and break something else. Of course, I try not to. But we need to walk around aware of our surroundings, including what we're walking on. Not just around here, but what we're about to walk over, especially at this age we are. And, we just do the best we can, but we need to actually do the best we can, not just pretend we're doing the best we can. I'm going to go and let you guys, it's a pretty day out, but it was very cold this morning. We're going to have a few days of the 70s, and my naked chickens are going to hopefully feel a little bit better. I don't know what the next video is going to be. I'm sorry this is so long. But we'll catch you later, and think about what I said. You have something that could give you a couple $1,000s more a year if you didn't do it to sock away food or get a different vehicle if you have a little putt-putt car if you want to get a truck or that's a little tricky these days, but you know what I'm saying. There's other things you could do to make your life more livable in the future and in a bleak future so that you can, as we all try to say, not only survive but thrive. So have a great day and think about what I said, okay? Bye.